Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Danny Hicks of Evil Dead 2, Darkman, The Intruder, and lots of other cool stuff. It's very cool to have you here.
Thank you. What did you say? The station for decapitation?
The station of decapitation, yes.
Oh, statement. Well, okay, that's pretty cool. I like it. I'm in. In.
All right, good. And you're not going to hang up. That's good.
No, I'm not going to hang up.
Right.
No, well, not right away. I'll wait until you offend me before I do that.
All right. It's only happened once. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good track.
Can you tell me who that was?
It was
you?
The Iron Sheik. I don't know if you know the professional wrestler, the Iron Sheik.
I remember the original Sheik, but this guy I don't know.
Oh, like from Michigan? The guy who had like fire?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. No, this was... I know. Well, I was just saying it's a little before time, but I do know who the original Sheik is. But the Iron Sheik was he's from Iran. He was the guy who Hulk Hogan beat to become the champion for the first time.
Okay, all right. Now, for me, wrestling goes back to Dick the Bruiser days back in Detroit when I was a kid. So Dick the Bruiser and the Sheik and all those lunatics. So
yeah, that's very interesting. So, we're not going to talk about. Well, we might talk about wrestling. I don't know. Who knows? But we'll get there. But
it's going to be a very one-sided conversation because I don't know much about it.
All right, we'll just talk about Detroit. But the you didn't want to mention about your voice, so start with that.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure that the people listening know that this really is Danny Hicks. I might sound a little different, but that's because I got about 8 pounds of titanium in my neck. I had surgery a couple of years ago to fix the vertebrae in my neck, and it's kept me from becoming a quadriplegic, but it's really messed with my voice and other stuffs. But I'm able to sit up and take nourishment, so I'm ready. It really messes with my voice sometimes, and people don't think it's really me, but trust me, it is. I looked in the mirror just to make sure this morning.
Yeah. Do you want to say why you needed the surgery?
Well, I broke my neck in a car accident when I was 16 years old and never got it fixed correctly. So by the time I was 45, it had deteriorated to the point where I needed. I was in a car accident when I was 16, and I never got my neck. I broke my neck, and I never got it repaired correctly. So by the time I was 45, I had to have surgery to put a plate in there to fix a couple vertebrae. And then by the time I was 65, all the vertebrae in my neck had reached a point where, just one good bump would sever my spinal cord, either kill me or cause me to become a quadriplegic. So I went through this massive surgery, and now I've got more metal in my neck than I do in my 2016 Mustang. So, it's me, and everything's good. It's just sometimes it really affects my voice. So Trust me, people, it's still me.
All right. I have a serious question about that. When you went to get the surgery to get the plates in your neck, and did you know going in it would affect your voice? And did that, being an actor, did that scare you at all?
Well, the whole thing scared me. I mean, it was a big deal. The surgery actually took 2 days, and then they kept me in a coma for like 3 days after that because they couldn't get me to start breathing again on my own. The surgeon talked to me about it, and I knew my voice was going to be affected. How badly, we didn't really know. But I really didn't have a choice. I mean, the vertebrae deteriorated to a point where one good bump would have severed my spinal cord. I mean, it was really awful. So we talked about it, and I didn't really have any choice. So I said, go ahead and cut me, Doc.
Yeah. Did that ever affect you during your acting career, not having the neck fixed? Like, did you, I don't know if you ever did like any of your own stunts in any of the movies or how physically demanding they were? The thing that affected me most was I was in pain so much of the time. The pain got horribly bad. In fact, I still have the pain. Unfortunately, the surgery didn't fix it. But I did not most of my own stunts, but I did a lot of my own stunts. And there was one time in particular, I can't remember what movie it was, but
I was supposed to be fighting the Frankenstein monster, and I ran up and jumped on him, and I was supposed to just bounce off of him, which is what I did, but I didn't expect to bounce off him as far as I did, and I ended up going off the mats and landing right on the back of my head. And I remember I had this huge, like, electrical flash that went through my body, and I thought, oh, fuck, I'm done. I shouldn't have done that, man, because I really thought I was paralyzed for a few minutes, but no, we got up, and of course we had to do it again because the camera wasn't right or something. So anyway, yeah, it did affect me, but a lot of actors put up with stuff that they don't want to, but they have to because that's what they do for a living, and it's what they love to do.
Yeah. You mentioned Frankenstein. I mentioned, horror movies when we started the show. Are you a horror movie fan? And if not, like, how did you find yourself in horror movies?
Well, actually, you know what? No, I'm not a horror movie fan. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to tell you that. I'm not a real big movie fan. Okay. I'm kind of a book guy. I'd much rather read a good book than watch a good movie. Although, of course, I've watched a lot of good movies, and thank God for good movies, or thank God for bad movies. No, I found myself getting into the whole acting thing just kind of by accident. I went on stage one night almost as a dare, just in a tiny little thing that somebody asked me to do at the Farmington Players Barn in Farmington, Michigan. And I went up there and I did this tiny little thing, and this very attractive woman came up to me afterwards, and she says, I run the YMCA down the street. We got a hot tub. Let's go get naked. I said, you know what? A guy could get laid doing this. And that's how I became an actor.
Uh-huh.
So that's what started it off for me. So, yeah. And the horror movies just happened because the first feature film I did was Evil Dead 2. I'd never done a feature film before. I mean, I'd been a professional actor for about 5 years, and I'd done all kinds of stage work. I'd been on stage for 5 years, and I'd done a lot of television commercials, radio commercials, and a whole ton of industrial films, hundreds and hundreds of those, which that's especially for the automotive companies. If they got to change a bumper on a new car or something, they'll do a film showing people how the correct way to do it. So I did lots and lots and lots of those. So, but the first feature film I did was Evil Dead 2, and I just kind of got stuck in the horror genre, which was fine with me. I had a lot of fun making the movies.
Yeah. So all right. So you get you find out that hey, I can get women doing this acting. Once you're in a feature movie, what was that like? As far as that was even better.
Yeah, that was even better on stage because when I did Evil Dead 2, the first day on the set, I said, "This is what I want to do. This is so much more fun than working on stage or doing any of the other stuff that I've been doing. It, believe it or not, is so much easier. I mean, you don't have to." I don't even know how to say this, but working on stage is hard work. Mm-hmm. And usually, if you're successful at it, you're rehearsing one play while doing 8 performances a week of another play. So, it's a 6-day-a-week job, and you work hard. And with feature film work, it's completely different. I mean, especially with a director like Sam Raimi, where you might shoot a half a page in a whole day, so it's the best way in the world to make a living is doing feature film work.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get the part in Evil Dead 2?
I auditioned for it. Even though we were all from the Detroit area, Sam and Bruce and Rob, I didn't know those guys. They were movie people, and I was a stage guy. And at the time, the two never crossed. I mean, it was like almost like some kind of invisible wall between stage and film. So my agent called me and said, they're looking for this guy. They're looking for a guy, and the character description is Scuzz Bucket. I said, well, I could probably do that. So I went into the audition, and that morning I I got up and I put these old, just filthy bib overhauls I had on. And I opened up the engine compartment of my car. I took a handful of grease and stuff from around the engine and combed my hair with it. I hadn't shaved for 3 or 4 days. So I rubbed this stuff all over my face. And then I went into the audition, and Sam was there. He was behind the camera. And I said, you want a scuzz bucket? I said, how scuzzy do you want him? He said, as scuzzy as you can make him. So at the time, I had a partial plate. So I pulled my partial plate out, grinned right into the camera. And I said, you want him this scuzzy? And he said, I'll never forget what he said. He said, oh, my God, an actor without an ego. So that's how I got the part. Yeah. And I found out many years later that he'd already auditioned the part in Los Angeles and in New York. And they couldn't find anybody that they really wanted to do the role of Jake. So they thought, well, we're in Detroit. We're prepping for it. Let's audition it here. And so I got the audition part. But it turned out that if they wouldn't have found me, Sam Raimi was going to do the part himself.
Oh, really?
He was going to direct and play the part of Jake. So I took a role away from him. So there's Sam.
Do you think being the stage actor helped in particular for Evil Dead 2, since it's really over the top and the acting is like big? And I would think that's more of like a stage acting in a way, because you're acting for a whole audience, people in the back, as opposed to usually movies where it's more subdued.
Yeah, absolutely it did. That was definitely a big plus on my side, because the whole thing was over the top. I remember reading the script and thinking, oh my God, they're really going to make this movie? I can't believe this. And then I got to the part where Ash takes the wastebasket and puts it over the top of the hand, the evil hand that's crawling around, and he puts a stack of books on top of it. And the camera pans back to reveal the title of the top book, and it's A Farewell to Arms. When I saw that, I thought, okay, now I know what he's doing. I got it now. I get it. Right. So, yeah, being able to be over the top was definitely a big plus for me.
Yeah. So did you get along? Well, you mentioned the audition, but like making the movie stuff, I assume you got along really well with Sam Raimi, since you worked with them, a lot after that.
Yeah, I got along with him great. It's funny because I did know Ted Raimi because I cast him in a play that a friend of mine was directing, and she asked me to help with the casting of it. So I saw Ted Raimi audition, and I said, God, give this guy the part. He's just ingenious. So she did. But yeah, I got along great with him, and I'm still very good friends with Bruce and very good friends with Ted. Sam is, he's up there in a different orbit. He orbits a little higher than the rest of us, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. So did you know of the original Evil Dead at the time, and if not, did you go and watch it then before filming part 2? No, I didn't. I didn't think that would help me.
Yeah.
I find actually that doesn't help me. Like as a stage actor, I've done a couple of parts like I played Starbuck in The Rainmaker. Well, that's been done, I don't know how many times as movies, and I intentionally didn't watch those because I didn't wanted to affect my performance. I wanted to do it my own. Mm-hmm. So no, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, because story-wise, they're almost like the same kind of same movie, but they're much different. And Evil Dead's much more of a comedy and much more over the top. Not that Evil Dead isn't, but it was just interesting.
Yeah, and there's that whole battle that rages on forever about Evil Dead 2 being a remake or a sequel or a prequel or what the hell was it? And here's my answer: who the fuck cares? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows.
Yeah. What does it matter, really? If you enjoy it. But I think it's one of the rare sequels where not everyone likes it the best, but I do think the majority of horror fans think it's the best of the trilogy. It's the best thing.
Yeah, I find too, especially on Facebook, people post their favorites this and their favorite that. And I think the majority of them do think Evil Dead 2 is their favorite out of the 4 movies. Although I have to tell you, and this again, don't tell anybody I said this, so don't listen, people. I like the remake the best. I like
the remake too. It was. I know some people are really anti-remake, but and I thought it was smart not to have Ash in the remake because you're not going to ever find someone who could do it as well or better. So just don't do the Ash character and make a different. Which I thought was very smart.
Yeah, I thought it was just all in all an excellent movie.
Yeah, and it's not as comedic. There is comedy and it's a dark comedy, but not as over the top comedic. Although I laugh like when people get their arms cut off and stuff.
But yeah, well, that's very funny. Until it happens to you.
Right. So what was Cassie Wesley like, who plays Bobby Joe in the movie?
Oh, she's wonderful. She's still wonderful. I see her now. For a long, long time. Excuse me, but I didn't see her for many, many years after we shot Evil Dead 2, and then she came to a horror convention in Louisville, and it was just so wonderful to see her. And the one thing that pissed me off is she's even better looking now than she was then. I said, how can you do this? You just got more beautiful, and all I did was get old. So she's just wonderful. She's such a sweetheart. Yeah. And I see her now at these conventions every once in a while, and it's just so good to see her.
Yeah. Well, when did you start doing the conventions? And were you always aware that Evil Dead 2, I would think you'd probably always do that, had a big following, but did you know how much of a following until you started doing the conventions and got online?
No, I didn't have any idea. In fact, it took, I'm going to guess, 15 to 20 years before Evil Dead 2 did have a big following. Mm-hmm. The movie didn't do all that well when it was originally in the theaters. And then, more than anything, by word of mouth, the movie got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until now it's one of the biggest horror films ever made. In fact, in Europe, people consider it one of the best films ever made. Not horror films, but the best movies ever made, which I couldn't believe, but trust me, it's true. Yeah. And I had no idea that anything like that was happening. And then Bruce Campbell called me one day, and I can't remember where he was. I think he was in New York. I think he was in Manhattan. And he said, Danny, there are people selling your picture. If you don't get out here, they're selling your picture for good money. If you don't start doing these conventions, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. So I thought, well, okay, I'll try it. So, man, they're wonderful. And the best thing about doing the conventions is all the fans. I mean, it is just so great to see and meet all these people who have actually made the movie what it is. I mean, we made Sam and I and Bruce and Rob Tappert. We made the movie, but the fans, and most of them weren't even born when we shot the movie in 1986. They're the ones that made the movie famous. And it's just awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said people weren't even born yet, because I like to go and watch old Siskel and Ebert, because I grew up watching it, and so often there's movies on there that were big at the time, but no one ever talks about. They're like, I don't even remember them. But then there's a lot of horror movies that keep finding a new audience. Why do you think it is about seems horror especially?
Well, I actually think it has a lot to do with The Walking Dead. I think The Walking Dead became such a big hit television show that people started saying, hey, you know what? Maybe horror movies aren't for just idiots after all. Maybe there's some good horror movies out there. And I honestly think that that's how it all started with The Walking Dead. Yeah. People just said, it's okay to like horror.
Yeah, it really did make zombies and horror mainstream, because you can go to Walmart and see a Walking Dead shirt for kid sizes, which when I was a kid, it was very rare to even know anybody else who were into zombie movies, but you could never find a zombie T-shirt unless you was like in the Fangoria magazine you sent away for or something.
Right. Yeah, I think Walking Dead made it okay to like horror films.
Yeah. So before, when you mentioned that you like books, what kind of genre of books do you read, or does it not matter the genre?
It doesn't really matter as long as it doesn't try to educate me. I just want something to entertain me. And like most people that watch movies, they just want to watch a movie. They don't want to be educated about this or that or this standing or that standing or this point of view. Just entertain me. That's all I want from a book. So, and I don't really care what genre it is as long as it's entertaining.
Yeah. Actually, since you mentioned Walking Dead, Greg Nicotero did, effects on Evil Dead 2, went on to work. Do you have any memories of him at the time and doing the effects? Did you have a lot of makeup in the movie, I guess? Not really.
No, not really. Although Robert Kurtzman's a good buddy of mine. In fact, I just saw him not too long ago in Cleveland. So I would run into those guys every once in a while after Evil Dead because their shop, K&B's, when they opened their own effects company, K&B was not too far from where I lived. So I would run into him every once in a while, especially Greg. I ran into Greg a lot at a bar that I used to go to. He'd come in there all the time. So we were buddies for a while. Then I kind of lost track of all those guys. And then at the conventions, I ran into Kurtzman, and we started being buddies again. So that answers your question because I forgot what the question was.
No, that answers. How about because you work with Bruce Campbell in the movie both as Ash and the evil Ash. So like, I guess like how do they when you're filming that? Do they do all the scenes of him in makeup like certain days, and then do all the ones out of makeup other days?
No, what they'll do mostly is when they shoot a feature film, they'll do it by location. So like they'll say, okay, we're going to shoot all of the interior cabin scenes that take place where you can see the trapdoor. So they'll shoot all of those scenes at that time. So the script gets broken up and bounced all over the place, but that way it doesn't take so long. You don't have to set the cameras up. You set the camera up for just that scene, and then you shoot every scene that's in the movie that takes place on that set. So the worst thing about working with Evil Ash were those opaque contact lenses because he couldn't see. I mean, Ted wore them too. In fact, Teddy broke my nose when he had to reach up and grab me by the face at one point. And he misjudged it by about 6 inches and just smacked me in the nose so hard. There was real blood on the set.
Yeah.
But that was the scariest thing about the Evil Ash thing was those contact lenses.
Yeah. So when you saw the finished movie, what did you think of it?
I didn't like it. But let me tell you, first of all, I have to explain something. I'm not a big movie fan anyway. And any movie that I'm in is awful. I don't care what it is. I hate it because I don't like to see myself on camera. I'm one of those actors that really doesn't like to see myself on film. So, I was not a big fan of the movie. I'm still not a big fan of the movie. I'm a big fan of the fans of the movie.
Sure.
Although I do have to say, there's it's not new anymore, but Synapse Film released Intruder, a Blu-ray version of Intruder. And I actually enjoyed that. I hadn't seen it for years and years and years. And a friend of mine made me sit down and watch it with him.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot too. I just watched it yesterday in preparation for the interview, and I dug it a lot too. It was a real fun, 80s slasher. All the kills are fun, and I like the kind of the da music anytime, like the kind of the sleazy guy with the mullet shows up that you assume is the killer. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that poor movie. it was Empire Pictures that originally produced it, and for reasons known only to them, they sold it to Paramount Home Video, and Paramount Home Video cut that movie so bad. I guess they were trying to get, the kids to watch it or something, and it definitely was not a kid's movie, not at that time at least. So the movie was cut so bad it didn't even make sense. So that movie never had a chance. People are discovering it now, and they're saying, wow, what a great movie. Where's it been? How come nobody's ever seen it before? Well, the reason nobody had ever seen it before is because Paramount Pictures killed it. That's why.
Yeah. It's always weird to me that they even make a horror movie that is like a slasher or a gore movie, and then cut out the gore or cut out a lot of the stuff, so it's no longer really what you set out to make to begin with.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous, and the worst I've ever seen in that case is Intruder, and what Paramount on Video did to it. It was just the movie literally didn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So. I'm glad Synapse. Well, other companies have released it too, but not as big a release as Synapse did with it, and I'm glad they did that because they kind of saved the movie.
Yeah. So did you? I assume you met Scott Spiegel, who made Intruder, working on Evil Dead 2.
I met Scott Spiegel auditioning for Evil Dead 2.
Oh, okay.
He was there. And the audition was at my agent's office, so I pretty much knew all the people that she represented, and Scott was there. And I says, hi, I'm Danny Hicks. Who are you? And he says, I'm Scott Spiegel. And I says, well, what are you here for? And he told me he was auditioning for the part of Jake. And I said, really? How'd you get the audition? He says, well, I kind of co-wrote the movie. And I said, well, yeah, okay, like I'm sure as hell going to get this part now. Right. The guy that wrote the movie's auditioning, and they're going to give it to me. So I didn't think I had any chance of getting the movie, but that's how I met Scott. And then he was on the set quite a bit, and he actually enjoyed my performance, and he enjoyed watching me work so much that he went back and rewrote the part of Bill Roberts in Intruder specifically for me. To get me to do the movie. Yeah, which was kind of silly, and they still made me audition for it 10 times. So,
yeah.
But that's producers. They just they like to make the actors jump through hoops.
Yeah. Do you know how the character changed at all? I don't know how, if you read the original script.
I don't, but there's actually a movie out there someplace, and I think it's called Walnut Lake Market. That was made back in the days when Sam and Scott and all those people were shooting the Super 8 films. Mm-hmm. So there's some version of it out there, and I'm sure people are going to let you know what it is now. But I can't remember the name of it. So, but I know that they did like a smaller version of it, like there are of the Evil Dead movies floating around out there.
Mm-hmm. So this time you have Sam Raimi's in the movie as an actor. What do you think of him as an actor?
He's good. He's not bad. He's not as good as his brother Ted. Yeah. Ted's one of the best actors I've ever worked with. But Sam was all right. He got a little talky. And at one point, he pushed his way around a little bit in a scene that he wanted to put something in that I didn't think was real necessary. But that was between him and the director. So I didn't have much to say about it, but I didn't think it was necessary. And I think it disrupts the flow of the scene. But he's good. He's a good actor. He's a good, solid actor.
Yeah, I noticed watching it recently that him and Ted both look a lot alike at that point in time.
Yeah, they did. They did kind of look similar.
Yeah.
And older brother Ivan looks just like Sam.
Oh, really?
It really gets confusing when he's around. Yeah.
Are they different? How similar are they, Sam and Ted?
Very similar. Very, very similar. In fact, Ted not only is Ted a great actor, he's also a very, very good director. I worked with him on a tiny little. Well, he did a series of movies for Morbid Minutes, and he asked me to come out and do this little tiny. He was telling horror stories in 30 seconds. So he says, come out here, you can sell this in 30 seconds. I'll come out and do this. So I did. And it was just, it reminded me so much of working with Sam, who is without a doubt the best director I've ever worked with. It really reminded me of working with Sam. And it was a lot of fun to do that with him.
Yeah. And he's also a very sharp-dressed man whenever I see him at a convention. Ted Raimi.
Yeah, when he wants to.
Do you ever put on the overalls for a convention?
No, I've never done that.
All right, it'd be a good photo op. Get get the teeth out and then the overalls.
No, but you know what? I was in Chicago at one of the conventions not too long ago, and they had the facade of the cabin.
Oh yeah,
it was. Yeah, so, and there was a guy dressed up as Jake. So I walked up to him. I said, hey, you want to take a picture with me? He said, sure, but I got to charge you $5. Said, okay.
They gave him the $5?
Hell yeah. He had no idea who I was. So
that's pretty awesome, actually. So, by the way, about conventions, this October is one coming up, Dark Side in Riverside. And I was checking out the website, and not only does it have a lot of cool, I guess it has a lot of neat events. So I think that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it. It's the first time convention, and unfortunately, a lot of first time conventions don't do very well, and mainly because they don't advertise very well because to advertise is expensive. But it looks like they're really putting some time and effort and money into promoting this thing. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm going to be there at the Fearsome Figures booth signing autographs. So if you're anywhere in Southern California, you know what? If you're anywhere within 2,000 miles, come and see me. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a new world. It's easy. It's easy to get around across the country now.
Right. Yeah, they got airplanes and everything. They go real fast.
Yeah, they do. I heard about maybe one of these days I'll get on one. I've heard about them.
Oh yeah, getting on. They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. They give you peanuts too.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I saw John Dugan, a mutual friend of ours. He asked a question on Facebook. So I assume you get to meet John on the convention scene.
Yeah, John and I are pretty good buddies.
Yeah. So he wanted to know if you still wear women's panties.
All right, John Dugan, I am still wearing the women's panties, and don't worry. As soon as I get these dirty enough, I'm going to mail them to you like I promised. So hang in there, John. Hang in there.
He'll be a very happy man. Do you have any good John Dugan stories that I guess you're comfortable telling here on the show?
Well, I used to tease him just horribly because even though I'm older than him, he looks older than me. So I used to just tease him unmercifully, And in fact, one time I was all the way across a convention center, and I just said, why the fuck did you have the common decency to die before you got small? So that's the kind of stuff I used to do with him. And now John's battling cancer. Well, I think I don't want to say it one way or another, but he's had a real tough time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So God bless you, John Dugan. I love you. Lots of people out there rooting for Grandpa, buddy.
Yeah, he's a man. I haven't seen him for a while. It's weird. I've never met you at a convention. I've met John millions of times, but I've not met you before.
Where are you located? I forgot. I forgot.
That's all right. I'm in Massachusetts.
I don't know if I've ever really done one around you.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of them in New England. Well, there's a couple now in Connecticut and stuff, but there's only really one that they say Boston, but it's like they always do it at the conventions. They'll say it's like in Atlanta, and it's like in some little town outside of Atlanta, which is fine, whatever. But it's Rocket Shock in Worcester, which is very far away from Boston. But people say Boston area, but it's like an hour and a half away. But it doesn't really matter. But I think that's the only one I know of that's in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm sure I haven't done that one. So, hey, guys, if you're listening, I want to come to Boston, but close to Boston. So bring me out there.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was watching The Intruder, there's a scene I noticed. So she spits in your face, and then your character licks your face, which I find very funny in the movie. But I was just wondering what I hope she didn't really spit in your face. Well, what's used for? Do you remember what was used for the spit?
I don't remember what was used for the spit, but yes, she did spit in my face.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that was the take where I actually licked it. I don't think it was. But she did spit in my face, for one camera angle. She actually had to spit. So, yeah, she spit in my face, which was okay.
Right.
I've swapped worse bodily fluids with people,
Right. So, more John Dugan stories.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what they used for when I licked the spittle off my face, but I don't remember. In fact, you know what? I don't think that was in the script. I think we just put that in there.
Oh,
me licking it.
She just goes, oh, okay. I thought I meant it wasn't in the script. She spits on you. She just gets mad and like.
Oh yeah, no, that was in the script, but me licking it, I don't think was in the script.
Well, it really adds some scene. I found it very funny. So
that's.
Now I've been thinking about, since you said about the neck and stuff, because at the beginning of the movie you have a brawl and you fall down and stuff. So I assume that was really you. It wasn't like a stuntman.
No, that was really me. The scene where I'm running across the cash registers, the checkout stands, I did one half of that take. I got up and started running across the booth, and I tripped and fell and cracked a bunch of ribs. So I said, "Stuntman, get my stunt on." So I didn't do the rest of that scene. So
yeah, that's a really cool scene. But I was wondering that too. Like, that's pretty dexterous, I think, to be running across the counters here.
Now that I started to do it, and then I fell over myself, so to get my stuntman. And he was a great stunt double too, and I can't remember his name right now. Shame on me. Mm-hmm. But he was very good at it. He was very good.
Yeah. So how about when you're making Maniac Cop, which I'm a fan of, what was William Lustig like?
He was all right. I mean, I didn't really have much to do with him because I had such a small part in the film. But one thing I do remember him doing was in the movie, I, of course, arrest Bruce, and I pick him up and I'm slamming him into the side of the paddy wagon. And we did the first take, and he said, "That was great. That was wonderful." He says, "Well, we're going to do it again. Danny, I want you to slam him into the van harder." I said, "Bruce, are you okay with this?" He said, "Sure." So take two. I'm slamming him into the van. The damn van is rocking on its wheels, And Bill said, "That was great. We're going to do it again, a little bit harder." I thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to kill this poor bastard." And Bruce said, "No, it's okay." So, man, I think I'm the only actor in history that's made a career out of beating the shit out of Bruce Campbell. So that's what I remember about William Lustig.
Yeah. So, so you said you're doing all the horror movies, and Darkman. Do you think Darkman's kind of before its time, because years later is really when the superhero movies blew up?
Yeah, it was definitely before its time. In fact, I love Liam Neeson, but Bruce Campbell should have played that part. It would have been perfect for him. But
yeah,
it was before its time. I mean, the world wasn't ready for superheroes yet. Although I think Darkman, it might have started the superhero movie thing. Of course, the comic books have been out forever, but I think it was. The Superman movies, they'd been made before, but I think Darkman kind of kicked it off.
Yeah, they were kind of they popped up here and there, like the 80s Batman and the two Superman. Well, I was born two, but the two that were good. And then, I think that kind of was the start of the modern superhero movies. Yeah,
and there was some kind of legal problems that Sam had with the show, too. I don't know. You know what? I can't remember what it was, but I think he wanted to call it The Shadow. Or he wanted to do The Shadow. I think that's what it was. And he couldn't get the rights to do it, so he came up with Darkman and did his own.
Yeah.
And good for him.
Yeah. What evil lurks in the heart of man? The shadow knows.
The shadow knows. I listen to the old-time radio shows now. So that's
nice. Yeah. I enjoy listening to them now. I used to play them on the website, like a lot of the old horror ones with like Vincent Price and it seems like there's some that people are doing like modern ones, but with that old take, which I don't know, I enjoy.
Yeah, but you know what? I can always tell the new ones.
Sure.
Like the new Sherlock Holmes and stuff, and I mean, the accent's the same, the stories are the same, but it's just, I don't know, it's not 65 years old, so it doesn't sound right. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it is weird when you make something to sound like, because when they were making it 65 years ago, they were trying to make it sound modern, but now it sounds old because it's from that era. They weren't trying to, like, hey, let's make this sound quaint or, you know, whatever they're trying to do now. So why not just modernize it?
Yeah, so I think the old ones are better.
Yeah, I do too. They're a lot of fun. So
it's kind of funny.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say one more thing about that. Dragnet, without a doubt, one of the worst television shows in the history of the world. I mean, it is so awful. Jack Webb is the worst actor on the planet. My God, the guy couldn't even walk. I mean, anytime he got in front of a camera, the guy froze up so tight, he couldn't even move. But the radio show is wonderful. I mean, it's absolutely excellent. It's just that Jack Webb should have never gotten in front of a camera.
I've never heard the Dragnet radio show, actually.
Oh, they're wonderful. And the music, that bum, 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 it just, listen to them if you get a chance. You really
I would. Yeah, I would enjoy that, I think. So, your skeleton was in Evil Dead. Ash vs. Evil Dead. Were you ever asked to do like a cameo or anything on the TV show?
No. That's what they asked me to do for the television show. They wanted to use a little clip from Evil Dead 2 of me, of the character Jake, and then my skeleton down in the basement. And that's what they asked me to do, because it was just too expensive. They shot it in New Zealand, and to fly me out there, for example, or Cassie or any of those people, anybody, it was just too expensive. Although they did take Ellen Sandweiss. She did go out there and work on a couple episodes. She was the only one, because it was just cost prohibitive, to fly somebody to New Zealand and put them up and all that stuff. It just cost way too much money.
Yeah. So I want to mention that I mentioned Dark Side and Riverside. I'll put the link on the website too, but it's the Dark Side and Riverside.com. So
right.
That's easy to spell too, I think. And if you can't spell, there'll be a link there. You can click it. I'm sorry, what you say?
And you got to mention Fearsome Figures.
Yeah, Fearsome Figures. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look those guys up. I assume they make figures, and they're very fearsome.
I assume so too. I don't really know. I mean, I've corresponded with them, and that's about it. I've never met any of the people involved, so it will be a first-time experience for all of us.
Yeah. Did you ever keep any of the stuff from the movies you made? Like, did you keep the original overalls or anything?
I kept two things from Evil Dead 2, and I gave them both away. I kept the ring that Jake wore. Don't tell anybody, because I actually stole it. And the dog tags that Jake wore, and I gave them away. And I don't know why I did that, but I did. So, but yeah, what I usually keep from movies, or what I used to, since I'm now retired and I do one movie every 2 years or so, is I get everybody that I can find to sign the script. So I have a lot of scripts that everybody involved has signed, and one of these days I'm going to auction them off for some kind of charity.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out which one yet.
Yeah, I like that. So where can people follow yourself online? Not at your house. Where they can follow you?
No, I've had enough of that.
All right, fair enough.
Just Facebook. That's it. I don't have a website, because it's not worth the time for me. Just Danny Hicks fan page, and I just have a regular Facebook page too. So that's where you can find me, and I post what I'm going to do there and when I'm going to do it and that kind of stuff. So. Yeah. To keep people informed.
Do you prefer Danny or Dan? I assume Danny, since it's on your Facebook.
Well, that's another weird story. Do you have time to listen to it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, my name is Danny Hicks. It's not Daniel. It's not Dan. It's Danny Hicks. And that's the way I signed every contract and everything I did with Evil Dead 2, which was my first feature film. And for some reason, they listed me in the credits as Dan Hicks. You know, why they did that, I don't know. But it caused a lot of trouble for me because there was a singer, kind of like a country western jazz guy named Dan Hicks in his Hot Licks. And he had registered the name Dan Hicks. So he was actually going to sue me because he hated the movie. And people thought it was him. And he was getting people calling and saying, what the hell is this stupid-ass movie you're in? He got really, really upset with me. So the Screen Actors Guild called me and said, why did you do that? Why did you use the name Dan Hicks? I said, I didn't. They did. It's their problem, not mine. Yeah. And I remember the woman I was talking to said, call this guy. He's up in San Francisco. Call him and talk to him. And it just so happened that I was a fan of his. I had like 3 of his albums. So I called him and talked to him, and we squared everything out. But he was really pissed off because they used his name in that movie.
Yeah. So after that, did you keep using Dan Hicks or did you change it to Danny Hicks for the rest of the films?
I know that my name registered with the Screen Actors Guild is Danny Hicks. Okay. So I never used Dan Hicks. The only people that ever did that was Rob Tapper and his clerical crew. So I decided to change my name for me. So, but no, I've always used Danny Hicks.
All right. Yeah, because you're listed on IMDb as Dan Hicks.
Yeah, I know. In fact, I think there's 2 listings, one for Dan Hicks and one for Danny Hicks. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at it in a long, long time, but somebody pointed that out to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure how all that stuff works, but I think everything I do, they just lump it into Dan Hicks, and then some of it gets, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but yeah. I know it says that I've done like, I don't know how many movies, but I've done like 3 times more than that just aren't there because of that name problem. So yeah. Anyway.
Not that I've done much, but from my experience, it is hard to get things removed or changed on the IMDb page.
Yeah, I never really tried. I mean, I did change it, to make sure the Screen Actors Guild knew that my name was Danny Hicks and that I wouldn't be credited as Dan Hicks anymore. But people just do what they want to do, I guess. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate it coming on. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
Well, thanks, man. It was fun talking to you, too.
Yeah. And I look forward to meeting you sometime.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know when I'm coming out that way. And you do good work, son. You do good work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.